When I think of LA, it's really only one person for me, and that's you.
Ice Cube!
They was like, yo, do you want to bring the Dodgers out in game 1? That's dream come true, yeah. You're not a rapper until you've been in a battle.
What's your favorite lyric you ever written?
Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God.
What's up, everyone? We got one of LA's most iconic legends in the building, both in the music business, the sports and entertainment business. You just name it, it's everything. Dear and close to my heart, family member. Many people don't know this, but my cousin, Ice Cube, is joining me in the building. What's up, Shay?
What's happening?
Oh, man, I appreciate you joining me. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we ain't sat down and talked in a minute.
No, we haven't, but you've been a busy man and on the road and doing your thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now we finally get a chance to sit down and talk.
It's a good thing.
Just almost dive right into a Dodgers championship.
Yeah.
You brought us out.
Yeah, man. You
celebrated
know, that was a pleasant surprise in a lot of ways because, I was just happy the Dodgers was, made it to the World Series. I was excited that they was playing the Yankees because I had, grew up watching those series. I saw Reggie Jackson hit 3 home runs, break our heart in the 70s, In 81, we end up getting them. And here we go again, the 2 most iconic teams playing in the World Series. So I never thought I was going to be a part of it at all.
Yeah.
And then we got the call and, they was like, yo, do you want to bring the Dodgers out in game 1? And I was like, man, that's dream come true, yeah. And then Fernando Valenzuela passed away.
Yeah.
So they said, we got to push it to game 2. I said, man, I'll do any game, Just let me at it. And it was like one of the things that, talking about bucket list moment, it's up there.
No, it is. So talk about the Dodgers, but also growing up in South Central LA.
Yeah.
Give me some early memories of what that was like.
Oh, man, we just had a neighborhood full of boys. It was a lot of boys on our street, all ages, from younger than me to, older than me, my brother age. My brother's like 9 years older than me. So it was always activities. It was something to do. We was always, playing in the street, football, basketball, baseball, go-karts, motorcycles, skateboards, flipping on mattresses, everything we can think of, we was out there doing. So it was fun, competitive, and, we had a lot of fun growing up.
So when you think about it, we both grew up in South Central LA. Gang culture, we had to try to avoid as much as possible. How did the gang culture influence you in being able to avoid it and not getting trapped into it too deep?
Well, it's all around. So it's really about the choices you make. Mm-hmm. It was a few different kind of guys in the neighborhood, guys that was focused on sports, guys that was focused on girls, guys focused on, dope dealing and gangbanging. Those was the things the avenues. And, fortunately, our street, Van Wyck, was a sports street. We had a few dudes that was really, banging real hard, but our street was really known for sports. So if you want to get a game on, you come down our street, you know what I mean? You want to bang, you go up there with Dub C and them at, you know what I mean? It was just, that was how it was divided, growing up. That was just the way it was. So it wasn't hard, it was just, I was into sports and then music came around. Now, I'm 12, 13 years old. I started rapping at 14, met Dr. Dre at 15. And so I was into sports and music, that was just my thing. And the more and more I hung out and the more and more I got into hip hop, I threw the sports thing down and then I was fully on into the music. And we started to come up with hits. And, so you know, I set my path real early on which direction I was gonna go in.
Crazy thing is, growing up in South Central LA, as you know, you go one block over, it's a whole nother world. You go another block over, it's a whole nother world. See, like for me, playing sports, it was an outlet, but because my family was so heavily influenced in the culture of gangs and drugs, I started navigating my way to try to figure out how to hustle. But then as I got older, I said, well, no, I don't want to do that because they over there shooting people and killing motherfuckers. I'm going to stay over here at Deacon Park and play a little sports and then figure it out. But it was so wild because if I cross Normandy, I'm into the Blood neighborhood where I grew up at. But then if I go back the other way on Normandy, I'm all with the Crips and everything. So I had to figure out how to play both sides to be cool and be good, where I could get to practice every day without having to worry about issues. So it was like, growing up in LA is a wild thing. I try to tell people all the time, Q, I'm like, man, y'all don't even understand. Y'all be talking reckless. I get it. It's violence in all America, right? Whether you're in Louisiana, New York, you could be up north, whatever, but ain't nothing like South Central LA.
Nah, you know, just like you say, well, we grew up right on Van Ness, Van Wyck. You know, across, you know, we stay, it's a Crip neighborhood. But right across Van Ness.
Six Deuce Brims, probably.
No, it says Avenue Pyru.
That's Avenue
Pyru, so I went to elementary. It was actually in the Blood neighborhood, the elementary we went to, but it was mixed. So, you know, my best friend lived over there, you know, a dude named Kevin Alexander. And, you know, so I would have to go up into his neighborhood to hang out. And, you know, it was all Bloods. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, calling me E-Ricket and, you know, get on out of here, what your little ass doing over here. But they wasn't going to stop me from going over there. You know, I jump on my bike and go anywhere I want to go. And, and then I go, you know, back home, hang out, you know, my neighborhood. So, yeah, you know, the lines are sharp out here. And, you know, you can step over a double line and be in a whole nother neighborhood real quick.
Who was your mentor influences in both hip hop sports when you was growing up?
Oh man, hip hop, it was, you know, the people around me, you know, like the Dr. Dre's of the world. My man Jinx, you know, he was heavily into hip hop. You know, he would do, you know, breaking and graffiti and like DJing, he did it all. And so, you know, it was totally engulfed in that way because they was, you know, the Wrecking Crew. Dr. Dre was in the Wrecking Crew at the time, you know, Lonzo Williams and Yella and Clientele, you know, DJ Unknown. And them dudes, they was making records. They was doing parties. And they was doing all their parties in Compton. And so they was a big influence. You know, as far as sports, you know, it was really, you know, I was looking up to the best players of the day, you know, from Tony Dorsett, you know what I'm saying, to Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. You know, it was the 80s, so those was the stars of the day.
Who gave you the nickname Ice Cube? Where did that come from and how did it stick?
Well, it stuck because my brother, you know, he, like I say, he's 9 years older than me. So he's always gone. He was always gone. So I would always pick up the phone and try to holler at his little girls that's calling him, you know what I mean, at the house. And he was saying, look, man, remember back in the day, I don't even know if they still do it. If you had an old refrigerator or old appliance, you just put it on the curb.
Yeah, they still,
and they come
you know, so
snatch
crazy.
it up.
You know, I don't live in the hood no more, so I can say this. I literally, the other day, I was driving through the neighborhood, coming through the gates, I came to the neighborhood, and somebody had a refrigerator. Now, mind you, these is multi-million-dollar homes, but they had a refrigerator. It must have been from their garage. They had it set it on the curb, and I was like, damn, we is back home in South Central again?
Man, you set it on the curb, they come pick it up in a week or so. Well, we had one on our street that stayed for about 3-4 weeks. Like, they never picked it up. And my brother said, hey, man, you keep talking to my girls, I'm going to put your ass in that damn refrigerator up the street. When they pull your ass out, you're going to be Ice Cube. So I was like, okay.
And that's how that stuck.
See if you can catch me. So it just became a thing. And then, you go outside, they calling you one thing, but you're like, nah, man, Cube. Call me Cube.
Yeah. So when was the first time you realized, though, not only were you Ice Cube, but you had a voice that could actually reach people in a positive light?
Oh, man, early. I had a teacher in the 5th grade named Miss Prentice. And she, normal, like what you do on your vacation, write down, what you did this summer. Just trying to see where your skills are, as a writer, So I wrote down what I did throughout the summer, and she was impressed. So she was so impressed, she showed the principal. And they put it in the little newspaper, the little elementary school newspaper. And then when I got to the 6th grade, the teacher, Mr. N.W.A, he arranged it. He said, you need to do a speech for the graduation, for the 6th grade graduation. And so I wrote my little speech, and I was kind of nervous to do it, but I got up there and did my thing, and the whole school, gave it up for me, and from there I knew that I could write, and then I can also speak in front of a crowd.
Dive into N.W.A a little bit here. So I was talking to a couple members from N.W.A, a couple brothers not long ago. DJ Yella, you mentioned, and Rabian Prince as well.
Yeah.
Yella was saying that, one of the main reasons he felt y'all had a breaking up is that the great Jerry Heller had his hands in everybody's pockets, so to speak. Is that somewhat of your recollection of what was going on with that relationship?
Yeah, I think it was totally his influence on the group, his influence on Eazy. We were new to the business. We were trying to figure it out. Independent artists trying to figure out what to do and what moves to make. Mm-hmm. And he was a seasoned vet in the game.
Yeah, y'all just was young and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and he was an older dude who been through the music business for 30, 40 years before we even got to him. So he knew all the tricks of the trade, and he started to implement them. And what really made me stop fucking with him is because, he just lied on my mother. Somebody that, lie on your mother is a piece of shit. And I was never gonna do business with him.
So going through, because it's always something. I don't care if it's sports or normal life, you go through something where somebody's like a snake, and you just learn later on, okay, I ain't gonna go down that road again. Yeah. Did you learn basically and learn your lesson in the business about how to navigate and watch people like that?
Without a doubt. I didn't want to leave the group. Yeah. Those was my friends, and we had did hits together, and we had been around the world, and we've been through a lot together. And so it was something I didn't want to do, but I had to. I had to learn the music business. It's not about just rapping and doing the fun stuff. It's about doing the stuff that might not be that fun, but have to be done, and that's the business. And I grew up real quick. Yeah. I learned about everything real quick: publishing, points, masters, and made a promise to myself that if I could help it, that nobody's gonna know more than me or be able to use their knowledge on me if I can help it.
So when you look back at it, though, obviously you've grown from all that, and you're in a much better place. It ain't even close. One of the biggest stars out here in the music entertainment industry. But you made a diss track way back when, No Vaseline. Yeah. So it was still to this day, it felt like it was made yesterday, based on everything that's happening right now with Kendrick. What you think about that situation?
It's hip hop at its finest, a heavyweight fight. We've seen it throughout hip hop. It's it's part of the game. It's like you're not a rapper until you've been in a battle. That's straight up. It's not about making a record, but it's about win or lose. It's about stepping up to the battle and stepping up to the challenge. So everything else is kind of shadow boxing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's always cool when you see two heavyweights go at it. We saw, MC Shan and KRS-One go at it. We saw
Long time ago.
LL and Kumo D go at it. Me, N.W.A. And seeing heavyweight fights is always, part of the game. We saw 50 Cent and Ja Rule go at it,
Yeah.
so
50 still doing it. Still going at it.
Yeah, they still going at it. Thank God me and N.W.A, we made up and we've done some great things together since then. And, so now you got Drake and Kendrick's turn.
Is there any difference though between, I don't want to call y'all old school, but damn, y'all are old school, versus, I guess you say new school? Is there any difference in the way that they approach it, in the way y'all approached it?
I mean, it's volatile.
Yeah.
It's it don't always stay on wax. And so, but it happened, it got physical back then. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's a volatile time when two people are dissing. You never know when they, clicks and they people gonna run into each other. So, as long as it stay on wax, it's fun. Once it goes physical and goes to the street, then it's street shit. It's not music no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we both, obviously, I said before, we grew up in South Central LA. We understand the streets of LA, but we also put ourselves in a position so our kids don't have to go through what we went through growing up, so to speak.
Yeah.
So my kids go to private school, right? They behind gates, the whole thing and whatnot. And then O'Shea, your son, obviously grew up in a different type of shadow than you grew up in.
Yeah.
So when you had the opportunity to see him portray you in Straight Outta Compton, how did that sit with you? Did you mentor him on certain mannerisms or teach him how to say certain things and do certain things?
Well, he's been watching me his whole life.
Yeah.
So I don't really have to do that. Just really telling him the situation.
Yeah.
How I felt. And, like I would tell him, okay, you're about to do this scene. This is how I felt at this time about Eazy. This is how I felt this time about Ren. This is how I felt about Dre. So just know them feelings when you do the scene. So you'll know, really how to put the flavor on it. I never told him how to act or say a line or do it this way. He had it down. He studied for 2 years to get ready for the role. And that's how I knew he was serious. When he, when I first asked him, he said, yeah, like, too quick. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, it's gonna take more dedication than that.
Yeah.
And is he ready? And, I didn't want to set him up for failure, so I wanted to put him through the ringer. The coach's son always got it the hardest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
only got this part because your daddy is in it.
Yeah, so like, I was like, yo, look, you gotta be good. You gotta earn it.
Yeah.
I can't give it to you. I'm not gonna do anything to give you this role. You have to earn it, and it won't be me deciding if you in it or not. It'll be Universal. It'll be Gary Gray. Mm-hmm. You gotta be the best one for the part. And he went in there and he saw it was 4 other, ice cubes ready to go.
Yeah, but they don't look like you, so shit. He could have just stood there and said nothing.
Looking like a person is not good enough.
Yeah.
That wear out in the first 15 seconds if the acting is terrible. So you still have to have a person that could do the role.
Yeah.
And so he had to, audition. He had to train. He had to get himself ready. And I think he's glad he's done it because now he can go on to do other movies.
Yeah.
And he understands the tricks of the trade, so to speak.
Yeah, I just watched Den of Thieves 2 the other night. I had to, I was just waiting for it to come on streaming and whatnot so I could sit at home and watch it with everybody sleep. And he did his thing in that one. Let's shift gears a little bit. Cube, you've always obviously repped LA hard.
Yeah.
No question about it. Not just in music, but in sports and fashion as well. And back to the N.W.A. days, the Raiders gear was like a whole vibe. That was like, for some, y'all made that a uniform. What made the Raiders a part of N.W.A. and N.W.A. really a part of the Raiders?
Well, the Raiders style was, do it our way. Don't worry about the rules as much. If they don't let you in the front door, there's always the window. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was, they had moved to Los Angeles from Oakland. And so we felt that they embodied the spirit of LA, or at least the LA we knew, even a little more than the Rams. We felt like the Rams was, very, glitzy. Even though they played the Coliseum, we felt that it was kind of a star-studded thing. And the Raiders was more South Central, Compton, and Watts.
So you did one of the coolest things for the Lakers. You gave the Lakers, I would probably consider the coolest shout out ever when you said the Lakers beat the Supersonics.
Yeah.
What played?
Oh, that's a good day, because the Supersonics used to give us problems,
Did
man.
They?
Yeah, man, we used to have problems with the Supersonics.
I don't remember that.
Shit, man. You go up to Seattle on any given day, man, you come out of that motherfucker with an L, baby, because for some reason, going up there, it was just, Seattle, Portland. Going up there is always a problem. It wasn't just a cakewalk. So beating the Supersonics was nice, and it rhymed with Chronic.
So what do you think about Ohtani?
Oh man, the Big Show. He's incredible. I've seen him play a few times, and he seemed to always get hits, go yard, and he's modern day Babe Ruth in a lot of ways, because he can hit it out, and he could pitch you out if you let him get on the mound too. So he's one of those generational players, the only one in the 50-50 club. Got to give him his props.
The thing is, if you say Babe Ruth, I always be joking with everybody at work and stuff. I tell them, Babe Ruth was black. Mm-hmm. You know that, right? They go, huh? I said, no, check out the finger waves, the lean on cars, all that. He look at his nose. He had some black in him to some degree.
Somebody hopped the fence.
Man, somebody did something, but they don't want to hear that. They like, no, that didn't happen that way. When you look back at the Dodgers in the World Series and the parade, was you tripping off Skipper when he got trying to give you a lap dance? You like, what the hell are you doing?
I didn't even know that was him at first. I'm performing because they tell you you're gonna perform and then throw it to the Dodgers and then they're gonna come out. So I'm rocking and then I feel some bump against me and I look back and I'm thinking, damn, some groundskeeper dude done got too excited around here and jumped up here. And then I looked, I'm like, damn, that's the skipper, that's the coach. Oh. And then, he having a good time, man. He had a few. He won the World Series, you know what I'm saying? So hey, they was partying. So, it was cool. It was fun. Hey, if we win again, he could jump up there again and we could rock it again,
Or you like me, because like I'm an LA all in through and through, right? I don't fuck with UCLA. That's the one place I don't deal with. But but I'm LA through and through, but I'm also California, right? So if the Lakers or the Dodgers, I don't fuck with the Angels either. If the Lakers or the Dodgers are out, and let's say the Dubs are in Golden State, is it wrong for me to root for Golden State as a California team?
No, when your team is out, man, you know what you're gonna do.
But I stay in the state. I don't get outside the state.
It's cool, even if you went outside the state. it's cool if your team is out.
Okay.
You know, I done went to the Super Bowl and saw, you know, all kind of teams play. You know, that wasn't my team, you know, that I wanted to win. You know, because damn, it's only 2 teams left. And, you know, you got to go for somebody or you just watching the game.
See, I didn't talk to you after I slapped the Raiders upside the head. How did that make you feel? Family member popping there.
Oh, man, it didn't feel good. It did not feel good.
I just thought about them when you said the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Y'all really put them things on the
They
Raiders.
ain't been the same since.
Nah, man, it's all Bill Callahan's fault.
You really believe that story?
What story?
That Bill Callahan wouldn't change the plays and we knew everything.
Y'all said it on the tape on the sideline. This is just like practice, coach. I heard that. I heard y'all say that.
No, really, that was pretty crazy.
I was watching it. You know, I knew that the center was gone.
Yeah,
and I knew when that center, you know, you lose an all-pro center against that front line y'all had. I knew,
No, we did know a majority of what they would do, but that was based on film study, and they didn't. Why they didn't change things? They didn't make not one adjustment. You line up, and I remember telling our corner Brian Kelly, I looked and I saw Jerry Rice give the pinch on the jersey. The first thing I said, they come to back shoulder, and then true enough, boom, there it go.
Shoulder.
You know, you just knew based on film study, it was crazy that they didn't switch up though at all.
That's madness to me. You know, if you're going against, he was the offensive coordinator for Gruden.
Yeah.
So when you know you're playing Gruden, you gotta disguise it. Even if you come out in the same formation, you gotta run different routes out of the same formation.
Man, every team I ever been on, when a player or a coach left that team and we played them, we didn't stay the same. We changed. We changed our signals and everything.
You got to.
Yeah, that didn't make a whole lot of
crazy
sense.
man sense.
Well, I'm gonna take it anyway and keep on wearing the ring.
Hey man, congratulations, man. You know, I was happy to see you get it. You know, if anybody was to get it, you know, I'm happy to see you get it. I mean, you deserve the championship the way you approached the game.
Yeah.
You know, #1 overall pick. You know, you just was amazing player, so I was happy to see you get one.
Appreciate it. So your love for Lowriders, what does that mean to the city of LA?
You know, it's our chariot. You know, it represents, you know, the style, the innovation. You know, we love our history, and it all comes out in the way we put together cars. Not only cars, but also motorcycles and pretty much anything you drive. You know, there's a pride that shines through, you know, because, you know, it's still a divided city when it comes to the haves and have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
So to come out with these cars to show, you know, that even the have-nots got more style with less than some of these people that live in these big old mansions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a testament to who we really are inside.
So, you know, back east, street ball get a lot of love, right? You got Rutgers, you got all of those sort of things. Yeah. But we got our own thing out here on the West Coast. Like, you know, when you think about White Man Can't Jump, you know, in Venice Beach.
Yeah.
When you look at that.
Even the Drew
League.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look back at that though, how you tap into it?
You know, our style of basketball, you know, the thing is most people that's from here, born and raised, we don't get lost in the glitz and glamour of LA.
Man, that's so crazy. You say, I tell people that all the time. I say, we from here. I don't need to go over there. I've seen that 1,000 times.
Yeah, you know, the glitz and glamour don't faze us. You know, we can do without it, or we can go get a taste of it. You know, it's that mentality that we have from LA. We always know, you know, we got a lot of options, and it's all about putting your grind, putting your team together, your connections, you know, and making it happen for yourself here.
Yeah, did the street ball influence you into creating the Big Three?
Yeah, the Big Three started in my backyard when I was a youngster. The games that we had, the 3-on-3 games, battling, bumping up against the garage, yelling, arguing, having to hop the fence to go get the ball when it go over the fence. And 3-on-3 is an amazing style and a great game. And you have to have all-around skills to play 3-on-3. So me watching basketball and being a basketball fan and saying to myself from time to time, I would see Mountain Dew and Nike do these tournaments, 3-on-3, weekend warrior, put a team together, come out and play outside. We got courts up, win a prize, whatever. And I was like, why they not playing inside? Why they don't use pros? Why haven't they professionalized the 3-on-3 game?
Well, now they got an Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics came after we said we was gonna do the Big Three. Then the Olympics announced that they was gonna bring in 3-on-3, but nobody had professionalized it.
Yeah.
FIBA had been doing 3-on-3 for 40 years, but they didn't professionalize it. And so with the Big Three, we just decided to let's not have weekend warriors playing in the parking lot. Let's have pros playing in the arena. This 3-on-3 style with our wrinkles and with things that we know that makes the game exciting.
You obviously work with a bunch of iconic artists, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Tupac, Snoop, Westside Connect was part of you, George Clinton, Chuck D. What was one of the collaborations that almost happened but didn't?
Oh man, that almost happened but didn't. The second N.W.A. album. And
Charlie made one album?
Well, I was only on one album. They made two.
Okay.
But I was only on one, but we was gonna do another one. And me and Dre was gonna do a record called Helter Skelter.
I think I remember that.
And those are two that didn't happen that I wish would have happened. But it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Dre started talking about Helter Skelter, he meets some kid named Eminem and then take him to the top. And then when Eminem get to the top, Eminem bring 50 Cent to him and then take him to the top. So I was like, okay, if Helter Skelter didn't happen, it was for, two good reasons for sure.
What's your favorite lyric you ever written?
Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God.
Okay. Trying to think. Is that my favorite for you?
Might not
You
be
got
your
so many,
favorite,
though,
but that's
man.
my favorite.
Yeah.
That's to me the realest thing I ever wrote.
How long did it take you to come up with that?
It was quick. Once I knew I was gonna make a record about It Was a Good Day, that was the first thing. That's the first way to start a good day.
Is there one song that you identify with in your entire career? You got so much shit, so.
Yeah, it's not my song. I wrote it, but it's Easy song, but it's Boys in the Hood. Yeah, I identify with the song.
So your new album that's out, it's out, right?
Yes,
yeah, it's out. Man Down, Ice Cube, obviously. This is my copy, so don't think y'all getting it. On your track, It's My Ego, you called yourself Kendrick before Kendrick. What you mean by that?
Oh, just a provocative artist, artist that, really tries to absorb what's going on the streets and put it in musical form and, try to, deliver street knowledge. That's what we called it back in the day, street knowledge. And so I believe he's that kind of artist, and I believe I was that kind of artist in the beginning too. It's definitely a compliment because I definitely wouldn't say I was somebody that I wasn't feeling. So, I hope Kendrick took it as a compliment because that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm sure he took it as a compliment. Why wouldn't he? I mean, one of the greatest to do it out on the West Coast. So the new album, Man Down, is obviously hitting hard, but now you're getting ready to hit the streets again, back on tour.
Yeah.
What made you feel like this was the right time to just dive back into it and hit the streets on touring?
You know, once I realized that we was coming up on 40 years of music in the game, it's time. You know, we call it the Truth to Power Tour. I've been speaking truth to power from day one, so it's an appropriate name, but we say 4 decades of attitude. So it's time to celebrate that. And, you know, I tour all the time, but I'm usually on a big package show, you know what I'm saying? And get about, 75 minutes to do my thing. But with 40 years, you need a couple of hours. You need a production that's big. You know, I haven't done a production this big since probably the Up and Smoke tour. So it's gonna be fun to kind of have a stage to myself and be able to show people not only the music and celebrate the music, but also all the influences that made me write the music or do the music, So it's gonna be, kind of being able to see inside my head and kind of see, why I write what I write or do what I do, in these pockets, in these decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and so on.
True to the power. Hip hop has changed, a lot of people would say, to some degree, changed a little bit or evolved or whatever you want to call it along the way. What do you see in terms of the way that they rapping now opposed to the art that you guys put together back in the day?
I think it was about when we did it, riding the beat. You had to ride the beat for sure. And you had to have your own voice. As far as, having a memorable voice, you can, if you listen to the records back in the day, you could tell who it is just by their voice. I think
they tell nobody now, though.
Yeah, I think we're losing that because everything is running through a computer or through auto tunes.
Man, they all sound, a lot of them sound the same.
Yeah, so they all have the same, it's auto tunes, you know what I mean? So it's artificial in some ways, and you don't know who's who. And I think, when you don't know who's the rapper, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You should know rappers by their voice, just like you know anybody by their voice. So I think I think it just need to get back to, rappers that really love their own voice and don't think they need to run it through a computer.
Is there any L.A. rapper or artist that this generation should know about that's not being heard right now here in L.A.?
Man, I don't know if there is. Let me know. You know what I mean? Let me know. You know what I mean?
No, that's a good one right there.
Yeah, let me know. It seemed like the ones that's really focused and grinding or making themselves heard. I love what TDE is doing. Mm-hmm. They making themselves heard and putting a lot of new faces out there. So that's always good.
So we talked the rap business, we talked sports, right? We got into music, we got into all that, but we haven't touched up on the film industry yet. To me, and I was telling my producers when we was meeting about this whole deal, I told them, I said, man, when I go back and I think in my mind about not just LA, just in general, across the board, somebody who made the leap, the transition from music business and hip hop to just iconic filmmaker, even to the point of acting in the films as he writes them and does all these sort of things, it's Ice Cube. I ain't biased, but that's the reality of it. That's facts. I mean, you got a couple guys that dabbled in both sides, music and the film, but not took it to the next level. What made you decide that you was getting ready to just take it to the next level in the film business?
Oh man, I never, even thought about being a part of the film business when I first came out until I met John Singleton. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace. He discovered me. He basically was like, "Yo, I know you can do it. I got a film called Boys in the Hood that I know you can do," and that opened me up because now I'm doing a movie. But then he challenged me again. He said, when you gonna write a movie? And I'm like, wait a minute, John, damn, I'm just now getting this acting stuff down, and you telling me I should write a movie? He's like, yeah, man, because they ain't gonna have no scripts that's cool like this for you. You got it right. And so that set me off on writing. And I had already done videos and written videos, mm-hmm. and so I was familiar with the camera and the process, but not movie making. And then once I did a movie or two, then I really got, I wanted to be involved in all aspects of the movie, because just because you act in a movie, that don't mean you have a final say in how the movie comes out.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have a final say. I wanted to have a say in what the people saw. So I was itching to be a producer, itching to be a writer, itching to control the project through Cube Vision, or be able to be in those meetings in that edit bay and be able to have control of the movie. So as an artist, that was my quest to, not only act, but get on the other side of the camera and get respect, have respect as a producer and as a writer, so I can control the projects that I was in.
One of my favorite movies is Are We There Yet?
Because yeah.
Shit just funny.
People gave me a lot of shit when I did that movie.
How? Man, that movie funny as hell.
Well, they was saying that, I do hardcore records. What am I doing a kids movie for?
Man,
which was stupid. Yeah, of course, I didn't listen to it.
My kids love it.
Yeah, all the kids love it.
We watch it all the time, man.
Kids love that movie. It's a very cool movie, and I felt like, kids deserve this kind of production. You know what I mean? To take it to the next level, and as far as black kids, we don't really have movies that take it to that level for the kids, so it was cool to be able to do that.
Speaking of black movies and taking it to the next level for kids, I don't know how long I've been hearing this, probably feel like 20, 30 years, man.
Yeah.
Finally, though, you just got the green light to go ahead with Last Friday.
Yeah.
And why you felt like this was the right time to dive back into it, when for years we've been like starving. You've been starving us for this movie.
It wasn't me, Keyshawn. It was New Line, Warner Brothers. They wouldn't pull the trigger on making the movie. Mm-hmm. We're about to go into doing the script. This is the third time I'm writing Last Friday. So I wrote a script in 2013 that they didn't want to do because they said, it was a script about, Data and Craig had a dispensary, and it was a flash mob, and they beat up one of the kids and ended up going to jail. Okay, so they was like, jail's not funny. We don't want to do a movie in jail. And I was like, man, you got Debo chasing them in jail. You got the Joker brothers after their ass. You got Damon. You know what I mean? I said, we can make it funny. And they were like, nah. But then, as soon as they said no, like Orange is the New Black come out, Get Hard, Go to Jail. All these movies come out about how fucking funny jail is.
He was way ahead of the curve on that. I was like, man,
I should kick y'all in y'all ass. This is why y'all should listen to me when it comes to Friday movies. So then it goes to 2018. I had the perfect movie. Everybody was in it. We was back on the block, and they just drug their feet, man. They just wouldn't pull the trigger. Then I'm at the Laker game, and I hear John Witherspoon just passed away. So I'm like, And then seemed like a few months later, Tiny passed away. So now I'm pissed. And, the relationship was fractured. And now there's new people in. Mike DeLuca's my guy from the old New Line days. And they finally said, okay, we'll let you do the movie you want to do. So I got to just pull the old band back together again.
When do you think you're going to start shooting?
It's really about the script. It's about us writing a great script, and it's about us finding the characters that fit, the new characters that fit. We're going to have, of course, some of the old characters, but, we got to find the right new characters, and then we'll be ready to shoot.
You going to make O'Shea audition?
Everybody got to audition.
Come
unless
on,
you've been in the first, unless you've been in the first three.
Man. Go just throw it in there.
Unless you've been in the first three, you have to audition.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. But I don't know, man. See, I probably wouldn't make Keyshawn audition.
I'm gonna make Keyshawn audition.
No,
Everybody got to audition.
No, I probably wouldn't make.
You
Keyshawn
wouldn't make
audition.
this on audition?
No, I probably wouldn't make him audition.
You gotta make him audition.
No, because I don't know, man.
You gotta put the right person for the part, man.
That's true.
That's the thing,
that's true.
like a lot of comedians want to be in the Friday movie. And, whether I pick them or not, it's not because they're not funny if they don't get picked.
Yeah.
But you got to find people that encompass these people, these characters.
Yeah.
And, once a guy is the character, then he gets the part or she gets the part. It's not about, I want somebody that I like better in there. It's about, this is this person. Like, it's no denying it.
Here in LA, and I say we, from LA, we've been through every phase of your career, like literally, from the music business to film business to whatever, we've been through it. When did you feel that LA embraced you as more than just a rapper?
Oh, man. I was just after Boys in the Hood. After I did that movie.
What year was that? 80?
1990.
90. I was going to say 89, 90.
Yeah, after I did that movie, it's just a different respect. And people know I go hard for LA. They've rewarded me with a lot of love.
This is what tripped me out, because I didn't know, I knew some of this, but I didn't know this. So you just did Your Hands and Feet in the cement in front of the Chinese theater, where we used to run up and down as kids trying to figure out how to just figure things out in life. Not many people obviously got that or get it at all. So that was a milestone. The Hollywood Star Walk of Fame, that's it. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's the end. But the Basketball Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And they was telling me, Basketball Hall of Fame for what?
Yeah, what you mean?
Man, I'm saying you didn't play.
A whole league.
I know, but I just didn't. I'm like,
no, it's called the Ice Cube Impact Award.
Okay.
And it's for people who, whether you played or not,
okay,
positively impacted the game of basketball. And so,
see, my producer,
I got a nice display in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, and so. Yeah, it was a big surprise.
The producers didn't even say that. It's like, oh, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
They didn't break it down that way.
And we're gonna give it out every year. So somebody new this year is gonna win it. And hopefully it become one of those coveted things that people want. I think I got the coolest trophy or award, cooler than everybody, so
shit is cool. The fact that you didn't play basketball and it's recognized.
Man, that's next level. That's
I'm tripping off of it.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, But you can look it up, man. As a matter of fact, won't you visit the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, man, and take a picture in front of the display. Yeah.
What would teenage Ice Cube or Cube say? Teenage. Right now, if he saw this Ice Cube, what would that teenager say?
I can rap. Let me rap for you.
So that was your sales pitch?
Nah, that was something that, I knew if I saw somebody that is where I want to be, you know, you gotta make yourself available. You gotta put yourself out there. You gotta show your talent. And so, you know, that's how I got Dr. Dre to pay attention, you know. Bust a rap a cappella, you know what I mean? And that's what I would probably say to myself.
So I said you part of LA's DNA at this point in your career, and when all said and done, when people think of Ice Cube and LA in the same sentence, what do you hope comes to their mind?
I hope when they think of me, they think of the city. And when they think of the city, they think of me. You know, I want to be, you know, just like, you know, people think of the Hollywood sign. You know, it's like, if you think of Ice Cube, you got to think of LA. I don't see how you can get away from that.
Yeah, we need to get one of them murals in one of them big ass buildings somewhere though too.
And when you think of LA, I want you to think of like who represents LA. And I hope my name pop up.
Yeah, you're pretty damn, probably the only person that, and they start, cause see even Snoop is LA but Long Beach, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you think of Dre, it's Compton. When I think of LA, it's really only one person for me, and that's you.
Yep.
That's, to be honest with you, that's just,
yeah, they Compton.
Many people might not like it, but that's the reality of it.
It is what it is, man.
I appreciate this, man. It's fun.
Oh, man, anytime, every time.
Definitely. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
One of the greatest of all time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.